Hello. Today I'd like to add some words to the talk I did, to the previous talk about the war between Argentina and the United Kingdom regarding the Malvinas Falkland Islands. The previous talk I read 3 poems. One by a British poet regarding the nations. The second one was about the transformation of a soldier from a normal person to a killer, and that was in German. And the third one was about the monuments that in the Soviet Union they did to the victims, casualties of the of the Second World War. They call it the Fatherland War. And by the way, they had 26 million people who died in that war. Now, they died because the German killed them. Most of them, there were civilians. So it had an effect, a deep effect for the Soviet people, and particular for the Russian people. So we have to understand that feeling about the dangers of war, and they know about the danger of wars because they felt that tragic invasion. Fortunately, they react and they defeated the enemy. But that time where the Germans, led by the National Socialist Party, I mean the Nazis. So I read it in Russian. I apologize for my pronunciation to the Russian-speaking people, but then I did the translation in Spanish. So today I like to read it once again and explain the meaning in English. Now the poem goes about the monuments, and say like this in Russian: "Вы думаете, пашми молчат? Конечно, да, без защиты. Наверно, они кричат, пока еще стучат, в сердца живешь. И услышат первым, они кричат не кто-нибудь, а нас. За нас кричат, особенно ночами, когда стоит бессонница у глаз. И прошлые гости плечами. Они кричат, когда покой, когда приходит в город ветры полебье. И со звенью говорит звезда. И памятники слушат, как живые. Они кричат, и будет нас живец невидимыми шустрыми руками. Oni chociaż stobi pamiętnikom ich bilasem ja z piano materialnikiem. So, I apologize once again for my Russian. So, this is about monuments, and it says that two things that the monuments are in silence. Yes, of course. No, they're not silent. They shout at us. They shout at us, and especially at night. The monuments of the fallen soldiers, of course, or for the victims, the 26 million victims. So they say, in other words, that they shout at us, they yell at us to remind us what happens and what happened with their lives. And the poet talk about the nights when the stars talk to themselves and the monuments talk to us. So this is the third poem regarding war. So I said one in English, one in German, and one for a different purpose. And this is to remind us how people suffer, the suffering of war. Now, all of this, I'm saying this because referring to the Malvinas War here in Argentina, I remember they used to say in the news, the South Atlantic conflict. It was not a conflict. South Atlantic means here from Buenos Aires and in the northern part of the country, like something that was real far away. Only the people who lived in the Patagonia, they felt and they had the sense of the immediacy of the war, because their Air Force was operating from the bases in the Patagonia that were closest to the islands. By the way, the Argentine government, the Argentine armed forces fails to operate from with the Air Force in the island, and that was a big problem, because the Air Force have to travel about 600 kilometers, or some depends the distance, sometimes 800 kilometers going back and forth, and they have to be refueled. When they were above the targets, they have very few minutes to do it. And by the way, the Air Force was attacking a fleet. The Air Force was doing the job that usually do the Navy with the air wing of the Navy. Now, regarding the situation in Argentina, the Navy after the sink of the cruiser, the battle cruiser, the larger one Argentina had, the Argentine Navy retreat to their ports, and only the one or two submarines, there were three submarines. One was lost in the southern part, close to the Antarctica, in the Sandwich Island, on Georgia Island. So, and the other two they operate. I have clearly once got included in attack, but the torpedoes didn't explode. and they claim they attacked the air carriers, the British air carriers. So the conflict was a war. It was, because now what I like to say is that a war is a very serious matter. It's a matter of life and death for the participants, but also the outcome is change the situation of the country. Although this war, both parties, both countries, try to circumscribe it to the island and the sea, close to the 200 miles exclusion zones. But the UK didn't attack the continent. They had some plans, but they didn't. Now, in the hypothesis of they could, let's assume that they could take back the village or the town, the city, the only town in the Malvinas, what they could do, because we thought that they might go back to the UK. No, they will find some other ways to retake the islands or to end the war in the better terms possible to the UK. And Argentina, the military that led the country into an incredible military adventure, they couldn't figure out that the British won, and the United States will not allow a second-rate country to defeat one of the main partners of NATO and the main partner of the USA. So it's something that is hard to explain. Now, when the Argentine garrison capitulate, unconditionally, so the problem was solved so far, and the UK retook what they claimed to be theirs. But of course it didn't end this history there. So Argentina still claims the islands. Now, in Argentina, mostly the political leaders are lawyers or militaries in that time, and they're lawyers, and they quite not understand well what the international relations means. When I listen to foreign minister, they talk and they think is about law, international law. And international law is, when it comes to war, the international law is forgotten. And the nations relied only on themselves, and they relied making alliances and trying to avoid this type of dangerous situation. So Argentina is a good example what not to do. in military terms, in economical terms, in political terms. Now, the results are to everyone to see. Given the potentiality of this country, it fails in the last 70 years, 80 years, it fails, and is not a complete failure, but is about in the rankings of the countries, is in the position, it all depends the statistics, sometimes in the 40, 45, 50 place. But given the potentialities of this country should be between the 20 important countries in the world, because it's a large country and has all kinds of riches. Now, that's the way things are at the present. And to think that through negotiations the United Kingdom will return the islands, that's wishful thinking. They will return not in foreseeable future, because these islands are part of the strategy of the control of the southern Atlantic, with the Ascension Islands, and then they have bases or ports in South Africa. They might use it eventually, and what Argentina got is, as a result of that war, the UK established a real airbase in the island, and they are very well prepared to operate, and there might be dangers to the southern part of Argentina. They can operate there freely. So Argentina is always can be threatened by the UK from that island. And nowadays we don't talk about invasions and that kind of the past. Well, the United States is still invading countries, but not UK. Not the UK. They are not in a position to launch an invasion to the Argentine continent, but they can do a lot of damage. But the thing is that the pressure they may exert, and then the other vector is to the Antarctica. So, which they may claim in the future. And that's something that we may see when expires the treaty about the Antarctica. What will happen with that area so important? Well, that's a problem that will be solved in the future. Always not through the rights, might be solved by the pressure of the different forces that will apply to have some rights in the Antarctica, but that probably the future might tell. So, in other words, the situation in Argentina is now, with the new government, is getting closer ties with the USA, because it all depends. Argentina doesn't have a stable foreign policy, like the same thing, like doesn't have a stable economy. So it's an unstable country, unfortunately. And doesn't have like a stable alliance. So for the last 10 years or 15 years, the balance was tilting towards a more progressive and independence line, and now return to the ruling elite, like call them elite, that they are linked to the international corporations, mainly USA corporations. The government is just like in the USA, is the son of a billionaire. But in the USA, the President Trump was the son of a billionaire, but he enlarged his fortune in the last 30 years or more. And by the way, I like to say that when this type of politician, let's call them politicians, becomes president, they think that running a country is like running a corporation, and it's not. So what they do the same. They get people in the cabinet. They're always leaning to the, or else they are billionaires like in the United States, or else they were CEOs from international corporations, like in the case of Argentina. In Argentina, they returned. Is returning to a neoliberal, let's call it philosophy, suicidal. I mean, it might be good for a very few people, and it might turn out real negative for the great majority of the working people. I mean, the subalterns. Now, I'm trying to find the words to say it, because in the United States they call it the working families or the working poor. They don't employ that word like proletariat, I mean, or bourgeoisie. So I'm trying to adapt my talks to the lexicon that is used by the majority, which is the rich, the middle class, upper class, working families. In the United States they call them working families. They never say workers. No, it sounds got to be family. So they call something, now they come with the idea of the working poor. Well, that's a USA problem that is systemic. It's the capitalist system that is in the last, I don't know whether it's the last or not, I mean, phase is difficult to tell, but it's in the financial period of the capitalist ruling. So that's what I wanted to add to my previous talk about this war, that unfortunately Argentina lost. And in the future, it's difficult to tell, because not only Argentina but other countries in South America, they shift from one view or from one direction to another, like in Brazil, like in Chile, in Peru. in Colombia. Now the only lasting, let's call them progressive countries, might be Venezuela in South America, Ecuador, and Bolivia. But these countries, they are not trying to construct a socialist country. They are progressive, but they don't go to the roots of the problem because they know they cannot. That might be something to talk in the future about Venezuela, about Bolivia and Ecuador. So the other countries are, for the time being, it seems that it's going to take, sometimes those fluctuations last 15-20 years, and they also are related with the commodities this continent sells. And well, that's they are linked. The political spectrum with the economical situation and with the prices of commodities. But since I was talking about this war, well, those are the results at the present. Now, Argentina, if we have to think about an enemy to Argentina, well, that's the UK, no doubt. We may not face a hot war, but they will try to. They did it in the past. They will try to weaken the Argentina as much as they can. And then in this continent have the problem that is not well defended, and there are 2 or 3 areas which are vital to the interest of the powerful country. In this case is the United States in the future. UK might be a lesser partner, but the Amazonas and the Patagonia, and of course in Eurasia is the Siberia. Now in Siberia, that's a different situation. That might be one of the reasons that they always trying to blame Russia, because they are interested in weakened Russia and see what happens. But that I'll talk about this in some other times. So that was what I wanted to say about what happened in Argentina in that unfortunate war. Thank you.